Well, so much for all of these green jobs these politicians like Kathleen Wynne, Rachel Notley, and Catherine McKenna promised us. The Siemens wind turbine plant in Tillsonburg, Ontario, is closing in 2018 and axing 340 jobs, with 206 employees being shown the door effective immediately. The company says that the reasons for the closure are that they can't keep up with competition, falling prices, and costs. So, where have we heard this before? Recently, I told you about solar companies in the US that simply couldn't survive due to competition from China and had to close even after receiving millions in corporate welfare to help them stay afloat. Well, now that's happening to the wind industry, despite the Ontario Liberals desperately trying to make it successful in that province. So what happened is that the Liberals actually baited Siemens into coming to Ontario to produce wind turbines as part of a deal that they made with Samsung, where they bought heavily subsidized wind and solar energy from that company and promised them space on Ontario's grid. The result was an $850 million deal with Siemens to produce 140 turbines in 2014. But the government then canceled the contract once they realized that they overestimated the amount of wind energy the province would need. They were also heavily scrutinized over their deal with Samsung and ended up backing off a bit by cutting some of the investments to that company and power they promised to buy. So now Siemens is done and Tillsonburg loses 340 more jobs on top of the 1,000 plus that were bled over the last 9 months or so due to other closures and layoffs from other companies. But what do green energy advocates have to say? Everything is fine, the market remains healthy in the province, and that there are still orders to be filled in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So what are these people on? Ontario should be a case study in how this green energy stuff is failing, and it's at the expense of the people in the province. They're losing jobs, they're living in energy poverty, and businesses are becoming less competitive with added expenses tacked on from green energy policies that make absolutely everything more expensive, which will only result in grave consequences when it comes to the economy. Those advocates mentioned that there were orders to be filled in Alberta. You want to know how much electricity wind power is producing here? Less than 1%. But Rachel Notley and the NDP are making energy more expensive already by shutting coal plants down and making risky decisions on energy contracts. We're on the same path as Ontario, that's clear, where energy costs have increased over the last decade significantly. They pay the highest in the country. There are lessons to be learned from that province's government and their failed attempts at subsidizing an industry into prosperity. But it's doubtful Rachel Notley will heed them. It doesn't take a politician to figure out what we all know by now about what happens when a government props up a business. It's a disaster for everyone involved. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to our Rebel Canada YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of the content that you're just not going to find anywhere else.